state your name, your birthday, and how long you've lived in Hernando County.
My name is Agnes Perkins.
And how long have you lived in Hernando County?
Since 1930.
And what's your birthday? Your birthday?
Oh, October the 12th, 1912.
What were some of your first impressions of Spring Lake when you moved here? Did you immediately make friends?
I loved it. It was just like coming into a family. I had lots of first cousins, but I didn't grow up knowing them. In other words, my father was the 10th child in a family of 15.
Oh, wow.
But in Cullman, Alabama.
Okay.
And those days we didn't travel back and forth like you do now. And so I did not know all my cousins. I didn't know any of them. Mm-hmm. In fact, I only knew maybe 4. And they were on my mother's side of the family. And what little boy that's 5 years old has anything to do with a little girl tagging along after him, 5 years younger? Don't have anything to do with it. So I really didn't have any close family, but I had some very close friends. And then I don't know, I just, the first weekend I was here, Papa took Mama and me, and we went and visited the young people of Spring Lake. Papa wanted the people to know his family. Mm-hmm. So we stopped by the Blackburns and picked up Emma, their daughter. And she had a brother that was about 5 years older that was a barber. And we went on up then to the mountains. And they had one of these extended dining room all set from the house. Mm-hmm. And we were all sitting in the living room, and Bernard came home from work or what he was doing. And of course, I'd never met him. And Mother Mountain turned to Irma, and she says, "Irma, go fix Bernard's supper." That was an escape. We went off down to the kitchen dining room where it was just us younger kids and let the parents visit. Mm-hmm. And Irma fixed Bernard's supper, and we were just sitting there talking. And of course, I put my butt in my mouth, and I don't hardly know how to tell you from there on, but anyway, they wanted to know if I knew this person or that person, and yes, I did know a couple of people that they knew. And so, but we just got acquainted, and a little bit we heard a whistle, and it was Emma's brother, Willie, the barber. So there was Willie and his sister Emma, Bernard and his sister Irma, and me. And we didn't have some conversation. but I got pretty well acquainted with them, and then I found there were a lot of young people around Spring Lake, and they were close. And I loved them, every one. I did. They were just great kids. I'd never heard of a peanut fight before, but we got in the peanut patch and pulled vines. And
can you describe a peanut fight? Because I've never heard of a peanut fight.
Well, they go into the patch to pull peanuts, and after you get through pulling the peanuts off, they whip each other with it.
With the vine?
Yeah, I got out of that because I'm not a fighter. But there was Lucille Ayers and Hale Daniels and
it seems
Frank
like there's
Howard.
Seems like there was a pretty tight-knit group of young people in Spring Lake in the 30s when you first came there, and they welcomed you in even though you weren't from the area.
That's right, they did.
That's great.
Yeah, that's what they did. I thought I was going to go on to school in Brooksville as a, graduate stores. Mm-hmm. But I didn't because I would have to ride the school bus. Leave home at 7 in the morning, get home at 5 in the afternoon. Mm-hmm. And my father says no.
And why did he say no to that?
Too much street time.
Too much street time. What do you mean by that? Too much time away from home?
Too much time just to wander the streets and have nothing to do.
Oh, okay. Can you describe your church community? Because I understand that your church family was very important to you. So can you describe some of those in the 30s and 40s, how the church community affected your life?
Well, my mother-in-law was the main one. She was in her 60s, and she had a class of 10-year-old boys, or about 10, and Rabbit Meisdorfer was one of them, and Kenneth Grubbs was another, and Drayton Parrott. She was also Christian Social Relations secretary for the women's group at church, and she just wasn't able to do it. And she says, Agnes, I want you to do this for me. That's what got me started in the church.
And what did you do again? You became the secretary, you said?
Secretary for Christian Social Relations
for
the Ladies' Aid group.
At the Methodist Church. Okay.
And I just, in other words, I tried to do what I was asked to do, and I thoroughly enjoyed it, and that's just the way it was.
Yeah. And who, you said your mother-in-law chose you. I know you married into a prominent family in Spring Lake. Who was it that you married? Who was your mother-in-law?
Fanny Mountain was my mother. Fanny Valentine Mountain.
Okay.
And I married her youngest living son, James Bernard Mountain.
Okay. You lived right in the area of Spring Lake, didn't you? For the time?
Yes, I did. I lived in the parsonage for the first 3 or 4 months, and then one of the other groups, I think Trilby, came in and didn't like it. The preacher that was here was a bachelor, and he lived in town, and so he wanted the extra money for the rent, which wasn't but, it was less than $10.
A month for the rent?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, it wasn't much. But
sure.
It was. And so we went home for a weekend, and when we came back, we realized that we were not really wanted there. One door was nailed shut.
Oh, no.
So we moved over to Mrs. Ayers, that 2-story house.
And that was the one right on the corner, right, of Spring Lake?
Right across the street from the church.
Okay, and you lived in that big house? That house is still standing.
They gave us the upstairs floor. Mrs. Ayers, a widow lady. Her daughter was going to school in Tallahassee, and so the upstairs was vacant. And so she rented that to us until school was out. And then when our daughter came home, we had to move. Which was all right.
So if somebody from out of state or from elsewhere came up to you and said, could you tell me what Spring Lake was like? Yeah, you can see Spring Lake now. Could you tell me what it was like back between the 30s and before the 1950s? You know, what would you tell them? Even if it were
almost like it is now.
So you think it's similar to what it is now?
Very much like what it is now. The community hall was not there. That was, well, it was too. It was built in 38. And the 2-story house is just like it was. Ms. Lee's, yeah. It's very much like it was then. The mountain, what they call Mountain View Estates now, was Mountain Groves. That's where my kids grew up, playing in the grove, working and playing.
Oh, okay.
And
I understand that you were pretty, well, at least somewhat involved in the citrus industry in Spring Lake. Could you tell us a bit about the citrus industry back when you were younger?
Well, it was the real business of Spring Lake area. And in fact, Brooksville was the tangerine capital.
Okay.
But of course it isn't anymore. People hardly know what a tangerine is. And the Mountain Grove, Bernard helped plant those trees when he was 5 years old.
Oh, wow.
And carried water in an 8-pound lard bucket to water them.
About how many trees you think there were?
What, about 50 to the acre? Now, I don't know how many acres. They had about 70, I don't know.
So
They had 350 when it was all over.
And it was about 50 trees to an acre, you think, and eventually 350. That's a lot of trees.
Well, yeah, well, they eventually they planted them closer. But first they had them, I think, about 50 trees to the acre.
And so your husband helped plant those original trees in that
Yeah.
grove?
Yes.
Wow.
And we had a freeze about 10 years before he died, and that wiped it all out.
Oh, so you saw the groves go in, and you actually saw them go out, too.
I did. I know what it is to have your bank account wiped out.
Wow.
And your livelihood. I know what it is.
I understand that the Mountain family, they would completely do everything from grow the trees to haul their own citrus. And could you describe the process of growing citrus back in the 30s, 40s, when your husband was involved with the citrus industry?
I'll tell you that my late husband and Jernigan in town, above Brooksville, were the first two owners of semi-trailers that pulled them out of the county.
Oh, wow. Okay. Wow. So did your husband drive the semi-trailer?
Yeah, he had one.
And what would they do with the oranges when they left the county?
They carried them to the port at Jacksonville to be shipped.
Oh, wow.
And then sometimes we'd use just a 1.5-ton truck and go up into Georgia and Alabama and sell a truckload there.
And do you remember how much money you would get for a truckload of oranges?
No, I don't.
No?
But I do remember he went to Miami with a load of sweet potatoes one time. And guess what he got for those sweet potatoes?
How much? Guess?
1/4 of a cent per pound.
What? That doesn't even seem possible.
You've heard of hard times?
Yeah. That's 1/4 of a cent.
1/4 of a cent.
Wow. You recall going into Brooksville often or not?
Oh, well, yeah, we used to go in for our groceries until 1937. Louis Lee moved back home from Missouri. He was out there, and he's a meat cutter. His dad, well, the house right beside the church was his grandmother's home.
Okay.
And it's now an active part of the church.
Mr. Lee had a store in Spring Lake.
That's it.
Okay.
Down at the corner where the motorcycles and stuff was.
On the corner of Powell and...
Yes. And when he bought it, it was a dirt floor, one-room store.
Really?
The room was about as big as this room here.
Wow, okay. And how did the people of Spring Lake, were they excited they would finally have a general store?
Oh, we loved having him come home. He came home, he was born and raised here.
Okay.
And his son George was 5 years old when he came home. So I've known George ever since he was 5.
Oh, wow.
I knew of him before that, but I've known him that long. And he gave me that white orchid for my birthday.
No.
Oh, he's a very special guy. Anyway, Louis Lee gave me a box of candy for being a customer. And it was my first Mother's Day when Nanette was little.
Oh.
And he, I don't know, he just was always there. And I never did shop a lot in town at the A&P and Mealis and AA because my reasoning was, if you've got to go into town every time you get a loaf of bread or a gallon of milk, you're spending a lot more money than just 2 cents on a can of this or 3 cents on a can of that. And I've always been glad I stuck with Lois. I did. Bert and I both did. And
So he was your local grocer, really, huh?
Yes, he was. He was a friend, a real true friend. Well, Bernard had known him all his life.
Oh.
My first trip to Wicked Watcher was my first weekend in Spring Lake.
So that was in 1929 or 30, right?
29.
All right. Tell me all about it.
I had a girlfriend from Plant City visiting me, and we went, Papa and Mama and my brother Tom, and my friend Joyce and I, we got in the car and we went down the Powell Road here at Spring Lake.
Okay.
And when we got to US 41, we went right straight on across.
Okay.
Well, we run out of roads, but there were still logging trails where the logging trucks had went. So Papa just kept going. And we went all the way across. We found a batch of wild persimmons. We came out with about a half a tub full of ripe wild persimmons.
Yum.
And we came up on US 19 below what we call Hunter's Lake.
Okay.
And we headed north and came on back towards Brooksville.
Mm-hmm.
And we stopped at Wicked Watch.
Okay.
To have lunch.
Mm-hmm.
And it was black beans and rice on a board about this wide and this long between two trees.
Okay.
At about as far as I am, a little further, as far as the refrigerator from the spring.
Wow.
I mean, and they said there was a wagon down in the bottom of that spring.
Really?
But I didn't get close enough to look. But it's a real deep spring. Of course, I've been back to it since.
Sure.
But that was my first time to see. I remember seeing 2 or 3 houses. I believe they were on 19, and they were old homestead type houses, not big homes, just fishermen's houses.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that was what was down there.
Wow. And what did you think of the spring? Because, I mean, it's
a
big hole in the ground with water in it.
Yeah, it was. I was impressed with it, all right. But we didn't go swimming that day. It was swimming weather, but we didn't go swimming that day. But we came on back to Spring Lake, but I will never forget that.
What about it, why do you say you won't forget it? What about it was so special?
To how it has grown and what it is now, and to think I saw it when it was just bare bones.
Yeah.
Water.
That's amazing.
Yeah. I was here when the lake ran out.
Oh, yes, that's right. Can you talk about that a little bit? What happened?
Yeah, we had rain. And about 11 o'clock at night, we heard this terrible, we lived on the side of the hill. You know where Mountain View Estates is?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know that one single palm that's standing across the road?
I'll have to take another look, but...
Well, that was right next to my garage.
Okay.
And it was a little seedling about this high.
And what year was it that the lake ran over?
Oh, I don't remember the exact year. Now, George Lee could give you the real information on that.
Sure.
Because his brother kept records on it. But we heard this terrible rumble. And I thought, oh my God, not more rain. Oh my goodness. Well, it wasn't but about 30 minutes, and I heard someone stop out front, and I went to the front door out on the porch, and we were very close to the highway.
Mm-hmm.
And it was my brother-in-law, J.T. Daniels,
Mm-hmm.
and he said, Agnes, says Spring Lake's gone over the hill. Well, I went back to bed, but I did not go to sleep. I wondered who in all was in the way of all that water. Where in the world did it go? So as soon as it got daylight enough we could see, Ollie and George and Bert and I went around, and we went to the north side of the lake, which was, we could go around almost to it.
Wow. And what did the people of Spring Lake do when that happened? Do you know how it happened? Was it just so much rain?
Yeah. And well, it's limestone foundation, and it got thoroughly saturated, and the weight of that water just pushed out, and it took out hickory trees like this.
Wow.
Yeah, we went around on the baseball pond road, and it went right by a house. Didn't hit the house.
Oh wow.
Went right by a house, and trees that on this side, the lake side, washed out some trees that were really big.
And I can imagine that would take quite a cleanup effort today.
Well, they never did do anything much, but fill in and build the road back across.
Oh, okay. So it didn't do too much damage to people's homes.
No, didn't hit any home.
That's amazing.
It is amazing. I think it was the answer to prayers.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of people like to talk about their memory of Spring Hill developing because they remember Spring Hill before it developed.
Yeah, I do too.
You do? Do you remember ever spending time in, I know they call them the sand hills. Did you ever spend time out in the sand hills?
I didn't care that much about rattlesnakes.
No. Me either.
No, I can understand why people up north come down here and were thrilled with it. But me, an old cracker, well, it just didn't impress me that way.
Right.
Just didn't impress me.
Do you remember the tourists coming into Brooksville? You know, I believe tourists started really coming down here to see the springs and everything, you know, around the 50s or so. Do you remember going into town and just seeing the volume of people changing?
Oh, yeah.
And what was that like?
We also had them that would come out Spring Lake and live in their trailer.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was a stay-at-home mom. And we used to call it, they call it now homeschooling.
Mm-hmm.
We called it getting your lessons.
Getting your lessons? Can you describe what it was like raising a couple kids back during that time in Spring Lake?
I loved every minute of it.
Yeah.
And I had 5.
5 children? Wow.
14 years apart.
Wow. So you really were a stay-at-home mom for a long period of time.
Well, I was there. But now they found out, well, knew about my teacher family relations. And they got so they'd call on me for substitute teacher.
Oh, okay.
And I did everything from 8th grade in Spring Lake when they still had 8 grades to Miss Minnie's 1st and 2nd grades, and then I had the 3rd and the 4th grade for about 3 months. Teacher didn't show up.
Oh, wow.
And then my last teaching was Home Egg High School.
At Hernando High?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Do you remember when that was?
Well, it was all pretty well one whole semester, spring semester. It was the year that flu was real bad.
Oh, okay.
And they needed me and I could do it, so I did it.
How have you seen Spring Lake change? Or you said it was very similar to what it was, but is there anything that really sticks out in your mind that's changed?
It's not quite as close as it used to be. In other words, you've got people that when they go shopping, they go to town, they go to the malls, and some of the old timers are all gone. And well, that's just the way it is.
Yeah.
When my mother Mountain was a little girl, she remembered, what was his name? Anyway, this Indian came by and brought his saddle and put it under Mom Mountain's bed and said he'd be back in so many moons and he needed a horse.
Huh.
In other words, someone had killed his horse and so he needed a horse and that was the way to get it.
Wow.
So,
wow.
Yes, there's been a lot of changes.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. People think that, the Indians living here was so long ago, and it really wasn't.
No, it wasn't. No, Mother Mountain would be 137
this year
if she were living.
Wow. Okay. Wow.
So, I have some wonderful friends. I really do. I have some. And my family is extra special.
And are there still mountains in the area today that you keep in touch with of your first husband's family?
Frazier.
Frazier. How are you related to Frazier?
Cousin.
Is he your cousin?
He was Bernard's cousin.
Oh, okay.
My Frazier's father was my father-in-law's youngest brother.
I see. Okay.
And Frazier's always left, and I'm always left.
Wow.
Of that generation.
And Frazier's 90, he's almost 91 now.
He is. Yeah, he is.
Is there anything else you would like to add? Any memories? Or anything else you might want to say to anybody in Spring Lake or the future generations about what it's like to be such a long-time resident of this area?
Well, I've never been really dissatisfied here. I just love it.
Yeah?
I do. I love it. I love Spring Lake.